Hello and welcome to the FSF PopCast Live Edition. Hello, kids and cadets. Second time's the charm. I hear that if you want to go live and you want to have a live show, you should probably click the button that says go live. So I had a nice practice run of an introduction.
It was brilliant. It was spectacular. You totally missed it. And it's all Tim's fault.
Never hear it. Are we live this time? Shush, John. Yeah. So, hey, we're here to talk about Ahsoka. It went live last night. Speaking of going live, it went live last night on Disney Plus, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, both episodes 1 and 2 on a 2-episode drop. So if you haven't had a chance to watch the wonderful Ahsoka show, shows, I should say, the episodes, this is your reminder that we're going to be talking about a lot of things in the show that if you haven't watched it, you're going to want to have watched. So if you don't care about spoilers, please continue watching. We're happy that you're here. If you do care about spoilers and you don't want us to ruin any of the surprises or things for you, please know that we are going to have some spoilers, and this is your opportunity to walk away from this episode for the moment.
But please don't. We need the views.
Yeah, please hang around. Consider it. But anyway, yeah. That's right. So, yeah, Ahsoka episode 1 and 2. It's kind of interesting. So there's been a lot of hubbub around the show for the last couple months, a lot of speculation. People have a lot of excitement because, number one, it's Ahsoka. Yeah. And Ahsoka's a pretty big character in Star Wars, especially ever since the Clone Wars. When she was introduced in the Clone Wars movie, she gained a really quick and strong following. Ashley Eckstein voiced her in all the animated series and has a tremendous following because of the Ahsoka character. She's immensely popular and for valid reason. And of course, now in the live series, we see Rosario Dawson, who was fan cast to become Ahsoka, and we saw her introduced in The Mandalorian. And how cool was that? I know I giggled with nerd glee when that happened. And I did also do some of that nerd giggling last night in the episode.
You nerd giggle? I've never heard that.
Once or twice, yes. I know. I was surprised too. Who knew that I could nerd giggle? So,
me, Kathleen,
me, yeah. Anybody who's watched 30 seconds of this show, yeah, exactly. So before we get into anything, because here's another popular thing that's going around in the Star Wars fandom right now. Is to dump on and trash a show just because it wasn't what somebody wanted or how they liked or what they thought it should be. So before we talk, yeah, exactly. But before we talk about any of the things that we may have had issue with, or I want to hit the high notes first. So let's talk about some of those things. Okay. So I'll pick one, and then we'll kind of go back and forth on this maybe. So for me, one of those very big things. Yeah. Where I giggled happily was live action Loth Cats.
Oh my gosh, yes. They're better than Porgs.
I want a Loth Cat. Please. I've been a kind of, mostly, sort of good boy. Send me a Loth Cat.
Yeah. And it's my understanding those were done with a lot of practical effects too.
Oh, that'd be very cool.
Yeah.
So that'd be kind of cool if they actually had an actual cat there and they just kind of CGI'd the face and legs on them.
Yeah.
One thing the Loth Cat legs are like little twigs, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I really liked was Kevin Kiner's music, because he did music in Clone Wars and Rebels. And, in Rebels, he was building up to the themes we got in the original trilogy. And now he's kind of deconstructing them. So that story through music, in the spirit of John Williams was absolutely amazing. Obviously, we're not going to play any here for copyright reasons because YouTube and copyright.
And, whole cease and desist and getting sued. We don't have the money to get sued, so we'd rather not do that. But yeah, no, I thought the musical scores were very good. I thought that the visuals of Lothal were fantastic. There's a couple scenes where it was straight up out of the Rebels animation, where as the ships are flying in and you see the radio tower that Ezra was living in, that now Sabine's living in.
Yeah.
All those things. As you see those things, I was like, I'm sitting there in my, last night in our bedroom watching the TV, and Shayna's looks at me and goes, "Did you just giggle?" I'm like, "It's live action Rebels, honey."
Anyway.
Yeah.
No, it was great to have, that very clear transition of, yes, we're in the same place. It's the same world. It should look the same. If all of a sudden there were trees all over the place, we would complain. But it was a very faithful adaptation.
Yeah, absolutely. It was nice. Yeah. Even the scene where as Sabine is the 2 lanes coming in and out of the town of the city
Yes.
of Lothal there. The 2 lanes with Sabine on the speeder.
Mm-hmm.
That section of land was shown so many times in Rebels. The simple fact that it was shown so clearly and so correctly, even just that, I was like, "Oh my God, it's Lothal! Oh my God, it's Lothal!"
It's space Nebraska.
Don't make me hate it. I hate Nebraska. No offense to any Nebraskians out there who might be watching, but Nebraska sucks. And
cooler.
Lethal's cooler. Anyway, and I would like to point out that I wrote an article for the Dork Side of the Force a little bit ago. So for those of you who aren't familiar with this yet, I've been doing some freelance writing as a freelance contributor for Dork Side of the Force. And one of the things that we talked about was possible people who could possibly see in this live action series. I got one of them right.
You did?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
I said we'd see Ryder Azadi.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And we did. I'm so excited about that. I'm like, looking at my wife going, I predicted that. I knew he'd be here. I said that. So, yeah. She didn't care. She was watching something on her phone. Yeah, she didn't care.
Wait, she wasn't watching Ahsoka with you?
She was in the same room. I'm told that counts.
Okay.
It totally counts.
Works for me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to
apparently worked for her too. So that was it. That was, yeah. So, all right. But, so Ryder was there. I thought that was very cool. And so for those of you who don't know, that is Clancy Brown, who is the voice actor of Darth Maul's brother, Savage Opress, from Clone Wars. But Clancy's also done a few other things in the Star Wars world, and he's had an opportunity now to do some live action work.
Wasn't he actually the voice actor for that character to begin with?
I don't know if he was the voice actor for Ryder Azadi.
I thought I heard that he was, but yeah. And the I just absolutely love the visual. It didn't.
He was. Absolutely, yeah.
I remembered a thing.
You remembered a thing, and you remembered it correctly. That is kind of impressive.
Tell Kathleen.
Scary for all of us. I'm not getting involved in that one.
Fair enough.
But yeah, he was. And the great thing about that is that he, boy, does he look like. I'm gonna pull this up on the screen. I didn't have this ready to be a thing, but since we're talking about it, it seems like something I should share.
Okey-doke.
If I can. But yeah, check that out. Here's just a quick Google search. Look at that.
Oh yeah,
this one right. Yeah, it's a spot on canon casting. That's beautiful.
Oh yeah.
And I love it when the people that we see in the live action, their animated characters look so very close, kind of like we see with Bo-Katan and Katie Sackhoff, and so
yeah.
All right. Anything else that you really, really enjoyed?
The characters. I mean, obviously they translated they're different actors for the most part. I'm pretty sure Dave Filoni is still voicing Chopper, but other than that,
I loved seeing Chopper. My favorite little murder bot.
Is it just me, or can you actually understand him if you watch enough Rebels?
If you've watched all the seasons of Rebels, and maybe even multiple times, you can hear what he's saying, because it's just very muffled, but you can hear it.
Yeah, his argument with Hera about, did you touch my stuff?
Yeah.
I didn't need subtitles. I was just like, oh yeah.
No, yeah.
It was like an argument between me and my mom when I was a teenager. Did you touch my stuff? No. Yes, you did.
Did you touch my baseball? So
Absolutely love that moment, you know?
Yeah. I love that. I love the fact that, and I can't remember her name right now, and I'll get to know it as the season goes on. But the actress who's playing Sabine, chef's
Ooh,
kiss,
yeah.
wonderful. She does a really good job of taking Tia Sakara's version of in the animated series and that attitude, that personality, and bringing it to life in the live action. Um, so I'm really curious to see how this whole relationship with angry soccer mom Ahsoka works out as the series goes on. But
Okay, Ahsoka might be the angry soccer mom, but Hera is still the mom friend for everybody.
oh, absolutely, yeah.
When Ahsoka and Sabine aren't getting along, and Hera's
Right,
like talking to them,
she
I
sits them
swear,
both down and talks to them. She's a
yeah,
mom.
I've
She's space
seen my
mom,
mother-in-law do that with her own kids and with her kids-in-law, including this one. With the okay, you guys need to pull your heads out and work together on this.
right? Where'd you have to
Loved it.
pull your head out from, John?
Anyway,
Places.
places
Anyway.
that don't smell good.
All right, so yeah, there's a lot more pluses that we could go into. I feel that there's a lot of things that they have done right with this show. You can tell that Dave Filoni has put a lot of thought and a lot of effort into this show because this is basically a live action carryover of his baby.
Yeah.
Rebels was his baby, uh, and so we're seeing that kind of transition into Ahsoka at this stage. But with as much as I enjoyed it, it doesn't mean that it wasn't without some issues. And I have a couple that in particular, that I would like to discuss. I'm not looking to tear the show down, but there are a couple things that I need to have addressed. And I'm hoping that, because we're only 2 episodes in an 8 episode run. So I'm hoping that over the course of the next 6 episodes, that we get some clarification on a few things.
Okay.
And then one of them I'm hoping just gets fixed with the change of writing, directing. But I also know that well, that's not our problem.
You had all day.
You will not have all night after that. So all right. Anyway, yeah. So one of the biggest issues that I have as far as the writing, acting, directing, and we were kind of talking about this in our group chat this afternoon. I have a problem with the dead air, the long pauses, the unnecessary pauses in some areas. Like I understand that in some, there's need for dramatic pause in some areas, but wow, some of the pausing was a little over the top for me.
It
Some of
wasn't as bad
the
as Napoleon Dynamite. You got to give it that.
we're gonna compare it to Napoleon. Okay, sure, let's go with that. And
not as dramatic as Calculon.
It's
Thank
not.
you, Kathleen.
It's not. Yeah, it's not. It's not quite at the level of Captain Kirk. We must pause after every. It wasn't like that. It was just a little too long for me in some of the areas. Especially in the dialogue between Ahsoka and Sabine. Now, I also after we got done chatting about this afternoon, I was sitting here kind of thinking about it. So as much as it annoys me, okay, that there was these pauses, I also went back and looked at it as we're having a conversation between two people who there's been a 10-year gap between where we saw them last in the timeline and where we're seeing them now. And things have happened. We don't know exactly why Ahsoka walked away from Sabine. She just said that she did, that, probably Sabine was being Sabine, a little dramatic, a little headstrong. And I would assume that Ahsoka wanted somebody who's going to be an easier Padawan. But I kind of got to the thought that maybe the pauses were there just because we have two people who are trying to feel out the situation. They're trying to assess their words before they speak them. Maybe there's intent driven behind the pauses.
That makes sense to me. From real life situations, I know
Right.
that speaking too fast will cause me more problems than if I took a second.
Right.
A wise man told me once that if the first time I hear something coming out of my mouth is as it's coming out of my mouth, I should have run it through my head a few times first. And I'm just gesturing like this randomly. Sorry.
We all know you're a little crazy. It's fine.
You've seen my life choices.
I have. Up close and personal as well. So,
hey, more kittens, I tell you. Yeah.
So, but yeah.
With the pausing and the pacing too, I was thinking about it from like a behind the scenes standpoint.
Yeah.
You know, Filoni studied Lucas. Lucas studied Kurosawa. Kurosawa studied John Ford, you know, who directed all those old John Wayne movies, who were,
right.
They were all a little slower paced than we're used to these days. And so, I mean, okay, yeah, wise guy, whatever. But yeah, the pacing then was different, and there's nothing wrong with going a little slower to make sure you get the point across.
I don't have a problem with slow, because if you've watched anything that Filoni's ever done, he builds you a clock to tell you the time. So I don't have a problem with slow. And I like the fact that Filoni likes to build, and get you to a point where the world is built, the characters are built, the structure of everything around you is built, and so you understand it. I don't have a problem with that. I just had a problem with, and I guess I'm kind of backpedaling on this one a little bit. Just the more I think about it, you know, I do think it's probably just two people trying to show them measuring their thoughts or their words before they speak, because of the tenseness of the relationship and the fact that what they had to do, and they knew they had to work together, and it was going to be kind of a prickly situation for a little bit. So maybe that's more of what it was. So
that makes sense.
And Dame and Jay, yeah, absolutely. We both agreed they were very good episodes of Ahsoka. We enjoyed them immensely. And yeah, sometimes a slow burn makes the climax of the story better. Absolutely. You get that nice build up, and it makes the climax of the story so much more satisfying. So absolutely agreed. Anything else we had issue with?
You know, I didn't really have that many problems with it. May have been that I was watching it after 10 o'clock last night, because that's how long it took to put my kid to sleep. But I enjoyed it. I was entertained.
I was as well.
I mean,
I have two more issues for you.
Okay, I'd like to hear them.
Let's see. Damon says Ahsoka maybe needs to be quicker with such few episodes. Probably, but we also have to remember that he's world building into the Mandoverse movie. So there's a couple of things that he's trying to set up. So there's going to be some world and universe building here going on until they get to the point of that movie. Okay, so here's my other issue. It's a statement that I have a conversation between Hera and Ahsoka when there's the discovery of the map, and she's sitting there. She's like, "Not all is lost," and she holds up the map, and she tells him that that's a way to. She tells Hera that that's a way to find Thrawn. Now Hera says that's impossible because Thrawn was killed at the Battle of Lothal. Okay. Hera was at the Battle of Lothal. She was there when Ezra and Thrawn's ship was jumped into light speed by the Purrgil.
Right.
She was there. She saw everything. She knew what happened. So I have a problem with her believing that Thrawn was killed in that battle. She saw him fly away. Unless it's kind of a bit of a denial, and she after 10, like we said, there is a 10-year gap here. So maybe after 10 years, she's just like, yeah, he absolutely had to have died at that. And, so he's no longer alive, or, because then but if she believes that, then she also has to believe that Ezra is dead. And then there's no point of searching for Ezra.
It's harder to let go of somebody you care about.
Right. Yes. Thrawn is the weird. Oh, Jesus. Yes. He's the weird blue guy. Research, woman. Do your research.
I'm sorry I sold my books before we met. Anyway.
So, all right. So typically, if you're just watching, that's my co-host, Kathleen. John's our editor. John sits in with me on these live shows. And I get to pick on Kathleen when she's not here because A, she's my co-host. I wouldn't just give one of our random guests a hard time, but,
and B, she's my wife and I have to go deal with this after the show.
Exactly. Yeah. Can you do that though? If the series is only 8 to 10 episodes, the show deserves more episodes. If we're being honest, I absolutely agree with you, Damon. I was really hoping for a much longer run of shows. I miss when TV series used to have 20 episodes in them, and even if they were an hour long. So
but if the show they had more episodes, they would have to pay the writers more, and well, we know how studios feel about that.
Yeah, writers, residuals, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
I believe you were at the battle, Tim. That'd have been cool, but I wasn't. But yeah. The one that nobody likes. Not sure what she's referring to there, but yeah. And see, I do this because I can, and it's fun. Oh, there's that.
Okay.
So anyway, but okay, so there's my issue with that is that Hera was there. She makes this dissenting comment that he's dead. And I don't know if she's just doing that because that's easier for her in this moment, if it's a denial thing, or if we have a new narrative being inserted into the storyline, because if so, that kind of screws up with the ending of Rebels. Because that last episode of Rebels where we see everything happen, we see the Ezra and Thrawn go away, and then we see the aftermath of what's happened, and that's kind of a big deal to me. And to wipe that clear would take away a lot of the power of that episode and a lot of power of the mural that we see in the with Sabine walking up to the mural, putting her hand on Ezra's face, all that.
At the end of Rebels, I kind of figured that was the death of Thrawn and Ezra because, that bridge was exposed to space. The Purgle tentacles were coming through the windows.
Yeah.
I figured they just got sucked out into the vacuum and they were done.
That's your wife.
And I love her dearly. I really do.
Damon says we better get a live action debut of Hondo. Yes. I'm not against it. Honestly, I was really disappointed last season of Mando when we had the episode with the pirates and we didn't get Hondo. That was the perfect time to bring in live action Hondo. And I kept waiting that whole episode for Hondo to be the one up in the ship, not Salad the Hutt. Tell me I'm wrong. That's Salad the Hutt. His brother Pizza the Hutt was in space. His brother Pizza the Hutt was in Spaceballs. Will Ezra be the new clone like Luke Skywalker clone was an heir to the Empire story? I'm not convinced that Maruk isn't Ezra, by the way.
Yeah, we know nothing about this guy.
We know nothing about him.
He appears to be an Inquisitor. Oh. He has roughly the right build to be an Ezra type character.
And having been gone with Thrawn for so long, and then he's already almost given into the dark side once. I think Maruk might just possibly be dark side Ezra. So we'll see. That's a very possible theory there. We'll have to wait and see. Here's my other issue. So I'm hoping we'll get an answer to the whole Hera with Thrawn got killed Lothal thing. Maybe that'll get explained a little better, maybe shown in a different light.
Okay.
My other issue. Somewhere Qui-Gon Jinn's Force Ghost is pissed because lightsabers no longer kill.
Everybody else,
everybody else gets stabbed and dies,
except for the captain of the starship.
Yeah.
Everybody else
didn't have enough plot armor.
Fine, they're fine.
Yeah, he didn't have enough. Yeah. Apparently, Qui-Gon Jinn and the captain of the Ahsoka show did not have enough plot armor to be able to withstand a lightsaber stabbing. But Reva and the Grand Inquisitor from Obi-Wan both got run through, and they're alive. Sabine gets run through, and like half an episode later, she's like, "Look, I got an owie."
Okay, but she did have immediate access to medical attention. Theoretically.
Maybe the crystals aren't as strong as they used to be. You think that because of Order 66 and the lack of Jedis, the Kyber crystals are losing force power? I mean, I've never considered. I'm not giving you crap for that, Kathleen. That's actually not a bad thought. I've just honestly, till this very second, that has never crossed between my earlobes. Maul did get chopped in half, but he came back alive. I mean, he was robotic from there was a half off sale. So far,
Snoke has not come back.
Snoke has not come back from the half off
So
sale. Maul did get killed the second time around by Obi-Wan on Tatooine in Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he took the lightsaber to this way. You know, so I had not a bad thought. Yeah, you had not a bad thought. That's actually kind of interesting. I would have to do some research on that to see if there's anything attached to that as to whether or not the kyber crystals have lost power or lost some connection to the Force because of the lack of Force users. That's interesting. So, but anyway, I'm a little confused about lightsabers and are lightsabers now only good for, you know, I mean, because Balin and his apprentice were slicing and dicing people all throughout the ship with those things, and up until Sabine, they were killing everything in sight, and then it was like, you know, a tickle me Elmo with a, you know.
The one counter thought I have is that I can't think of the apprentice's name. Anyway, she knew that Ahsoka was coming, and the easiest way to slow down your enemy is to give them a wounded ally to take care of. If it's a dead ally, they just keep running.
Right. I mean, so you have to know where to stab them.
Yeah.
With that, you know. Kathleen says they only kill actors who don't want to be in the show anymore, like Qui-Gon and Han Solo. Still too soon with Han Solo. Still too soon.
That's a different kind of plot armor.
Right. And yeah, fan theories were bang on about the magistrate being a night sister. I saw those theories. I dismissed them immediately. I was like, that's not going to be a thing. And yeah, she is a survivor of Dathomir, she says in the episodes. So there is some ties to the Night Sisters, the Witches of Dathomir. So that's kind of interesting because that's, you know, how she's more than likely being able to sense Thrawn out across the galaxy far, far away. I'm really kind of looking forward to episode 3. I don't think we're going to see Ezra till maybe episode 4 or 5. I think even though this is the search for Ezra, I don't think we're going to see him till, you know, a little later in the season, at least not until after the halfway point. So, burn the witch. Wait, wrong show. But is it though? I mean, we're okay with that quote. It's always a good time for that quote. So anyway, yeah. Those are just my thoughts. Okay. I don't have really anything else in my notes, but
so the end of the episode.
Yeah.
When they're going to look at the Eye of Sion, which, first of all, I love the name. The KOTOR 2 reference there.
I was just about to say Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, absolutely love that. But it also reminded me of another Timothy Zahn novel, because we know that he wrote the original trilogy, but he also wrote this one called Outbound Flight that had to do with extragalactic travel.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have Filoni tying Thrawn in with the story of extragalactic travel again.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. Taking an old idea and doing something new with it.
Yeah, we're going to have a few really cool tie-ins, I think, to the Zahn novels. We're going to see some tie-ins to KOTOR. We're going to see some tie-ins to some... I think we're going to see some legend stuff brought in. As far as the episode here that Damon's asking about, which episode will Ahsoka versus Anakin on Mustafar take place? I'm not entirely sure, but that is coming. It is definitely going to be a thing. And I'm going to assume that it has something to do with her going back and training Sabine again, going back into the training. And I'm going to bet that this is going to be a flashback that she has as to why she walked away from Sabine, is because she had started having these visions of and going back and replacing, you know, or revisiting these things that she wasn't necessarily at, but that she heard about and knew about. So, Flyboy?
Sky Guy.
Oh, Sky Guy. Yeah. Anakin is coming. He'll be in one of the episodes. I don't which one. We're not sure yet, but I would guess that that's going to be, again, probably after the halfway point of the season. I think the last couple episodes of this season are going to be absolutely action packed. I'm hoping so. Anyway, just makes sense to me. But
Right.
But yeah, any final thoughts on the review of Ahsoka episodes 1 and 2?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to next week. I hope they don't do a secret invasion on this, where it started out really strong and then kind of fizzled toward the end.
Yeah, I lost my steam on Secret Invasion. I started with so much hype.
Right. But I think the acting is great. The writing is solid. Everything.
Fix the pauses.
The practical effect use and the use of the volume makes it very believable. It doesn't look like they're just redoing the prequels with a bunch of green screen.
No, I like it. I like it a lot.
Looks great.
I like it a lot.
Yes.
So, hey, okay, cool. So just a couple quick notes before we sign off here. As a reminder, guys, this week, if you haven't seen it already, you could be watching our interview with Matthew McFadden, who is the Romulan commander on Star Trek Strange New Worlds. We had a really great chat with him. That's available on all of our podcast platforms, and of course here on our YouTube channel. Let's see. Real quick note from Damon. It says Agent Callus or Zeb to make appearances. I would think at least Zeb. I'm hoping for Agent Callus. In the article I wrote for Dork Side of the Force, I also thought that we would see Agent Callus. It would just make sense. And yes, he does need to be the new Sarek. We talked about that. Our friends over at Open Pike Night suggested that, and we couldn't agree with them more. That he definitely needs to be the new Sarek in that. Now, if you're a member of our Patreon channel, you could already be watching this right now. This is Tate Fletcher. He is Paz Vizsla from The Mandalorian. The heavy Mando guy with, but yeah. Mm-hmm. So he is Paz Vizsla, and we talked with him about starting off as an MMA fighter, doing bouncing at bars, and how that all led to stunt work, and how that led to on-camera work, and all these different things that he's done. And he has an impressive list of movies that he has been a part of. John Wick, Free Guy, of course, the Mandalorian TV shows, a whole bunch of other things. There's so many, I can't list them all, but yeah. So that comes out this Friday morning on our podcast channels, and of course our YouTube channel. But if you were a Patreon subscriber, for as little as $3 a month, you could be enjoying those episodes very early. That's been up since yesterday afternoon. So you get a couple days, couple days advance. But if you have any questions on where to find us, it's right there. You can find us on all your favorite podcast providers, Apple, Spotify, Good Pods. We recommend Good Pods. We like them quite a bit. And you could, of course, find us on Patreon and here on YouTube. And he's got some really cool stuff that he's worked on. And he's got a coffee business and a couple other things. Tate is he's a Michigan man, so that helps. We're from Michigan, so we like talking to Michigan boys who did good, and he did good. He's that cool guy that we like to talk to. So yeah, Tate's a good guy. Check him out. And I think that's about it. We'll see you next week at 5:00. Same Ahsoka time, same Ahsoka channel. It just seemed wrong to say Bat channel, but it is what it is. All right. We're going to leave now before I start blabbering or whatever the word is I'm looking for. Okay, bye. On behalf of the rest of the hosts of the FSF PopCast, we want to thank you for listening to this episode. If you'd like to be a guest on a future episode, please contact us by means of Twitter or Instagram using the handle @FSF PopCast, or go to www.fsfpopcast.com and click on the contact link. Thanks again, and hope you enjoyed the episode.